Okay, we are 5 acts down, 5 to go. Act 6 is where some people say that game starts, some people say the campaign starts, because you should at least have your character online for any first character, not the upper tier where you need to buy it all. First character, league starter, whatever. You should be starting to get it online in Act 5, Act 6. Later, you should be getting to that point where you start turning into farming. So, the first real boss we get in Act 6 is Tukahama. Tukahama can be a real pain if you haven't got your resistances back up after Act 5. He has 22,374 life. He's level 46. You should be roughly around there. But his resistances are still only 40 alley and 25 chaos, so that's at least something. On average, he does a fizz spell of 189 damage. The problem is he's got totems and an immunity phase, so that can get in an issue, and also armor 4740 and evasion 2063. So first boss is a bit of a pain, and you'll really find out if your resistances need upping or not. We run through, do some things. The Labyrinth Trials for Act 6 is the prison. That's the only trial for Act 6. Act 6, we need to do the Father of War, the Puppet Mistress, and the Cloven one for extra passives. And then the next boss slash bosses we come up against is Brutus and Chavaron. This is them up on the top of a tower. They work together and fight you at the same time, more or less. The Brutus, reassembled Brutus, he is level 47, 18,900 life. You have to fight him first and then last when they combine. The difficult part is the lightning damage and everything, so by now you should start be getting your resistances back on track. The armor for him is 5,163, evasion 2,150. The problem isn't that he's going to be running away, the problem is that he's going to have some new abilities that can do a lot more damage. Once you phase him, you then end up with Chavaron. Chavaron is level 47, 18,900 life. Armor evasion the same because they are virtually the same peoples, so the armor is going to be roughly the same on a lot of the characters you are facing. The damage for both of them, Brutus does fizz spell of 274, Chavaron of 249. Now they do combine, and he starts doing electric stuff at the third phase of the fight, so you do have to watch out. Once he's doing the slamming, just move out of the way, and then he will charge you. Try to get him in a corner and just drop everything you got on him, fizz or melee. Range or melee or spell, depending on what you do. Try to get him in the corner and go to town on him in that last phase. Thirdly, we've come across Abarath. He is one of the people we need to do for the passive point. He is a fire-based guy. He's got 2 phases, both not that difficult. He shouldn't be all that difficult for you to take out. The fire and the fact that he's got life of 22,050, he's level 47, he shouldn't be that hard for you. 5,163 armor, evasion of 2,150. As I said, he shouldn't be that hard. His LE is the same as everyone else, so if you can take out everyone else, you can take out him. There's nothing special about him really. Just don't get hit by his meteor in the second phase. Now, this could be a issue for you. If you want, just before you go into the Puppet Mistress fight, if you have any chaos resistance that isn't necessarily your best gear, but you can put on rings or gear that has chaos resistance, chuck them on for this fight, as long as they don't actually weaken your character too much, because there is a lot of poison on the ground, and the chaos damage that it causes can kill you even though your character isn't necessarily weak. It's just the fact that the chaos is the main damage. Level 48, 2000 I wish, 26,960 life. Armor is roughly the same, so as you can see, Brutus wasn't all that tanky compared to what you're going to come up against, because even this Puppet Mistress has 5,621 armor, 2,239 evasion. The damage Fizz spell is 171, and most of that is chaos, getting converted into chaos. So do take this as a chaos fight, not as anything else. Shouldn't be too difficult. You do have infinite life, but the chaos damage is what's going to kill you if anything does. Now, the Brine King. First real DPS check of the second part. The Brine King is annoying fight, but not necessarily a hard fight. The Brine King will be level 50, life of around 52,029. The armor evasion isn't going to be the problem. 6,656 armor, 2,426 evasion. Fizz spell damage of 233. The problem comes when he does all his attacks, his tidal waves, his lightning on the ground. The cold damage is his main tidal rush. Then he's got some fizz, and then he's got some lightning on the floor. So it's more of a survival DPS check. You should be able to take him down. There is builds that I have tried and did reviews on which couldn't get past this guy because the DPS was so low. This guy really is the first DPS check. If you can't beat him with the thing, you need to check your gear skills and possibly just level some more before you take him on, because you should be able to take him on, but if you can't, you won't be able to do further. And then we're on to Act 7. Act 7 has the last two of the second trial, Labyrinth trial, and they are in the Crypt and Chamber of Sins level 2. Now, the first real boss we come up against, you'll have done these trials before this boss, or you can leave it till after the act or whatever you want. But the first real boss we come up against is Malagaro in his own sanctum. Drop a portal just like you would in a map outside his door. He's level 52. He's got 30,800 life. He's got 7,869 armor, evasion of 2,626. The only problem is you're not just fighting Malagaro, you're fighting the two illusions, I believe they're called, that he spawns. They're illusions that can smack you in the face. The Black Death, which you might have come across, you can just run past the Black Death in its zone. And the Fiddly D Me Fingers comes back. They're slightly harder, but they're the same as when you fought them. They're nothing really. The big problem comes with Malagaro. He's interrupting the fight every now and then when you're fighting them. You don't have to really worry about the two of them. As long as you can take down Malagaro, the other two won't be an issue. Malagaro does do a projectile thing. You'll see him ramping it up just down behind him. But chaos is starting to come into the campaign at quite regular intervals, so you might die to the chaos damage. But other than that, you should be fine. His damage, Fizz spell damage, is 326, so it's getting slightly higher, but a lot of the damage and danger comes from chaos. The next one we'll run into is Grust. he is not alone either. He has friends as well. This is not going to be a DPS check or a survivability check. It's just, can you clear the trash and his friends before the big dog turns up, and can you take him out before too much rubbish is happening around you. He's got 30,550 life, level 53. Armor is 8,552, evasion 2,730, fizz spell damage of 344. Now, as I said, he's not going to be a real damage check. It's more of just everything in your face, and you just do your best to beat him up. There's no big deal in dying to him. It happens. If you can wipe him out, then you know your DPS is in a good spot. The next one we run into is a bit of a nuisance. Grathkul. He has like a damaging floor that comes and hits you. Despair projectiles. His level 53, 42,300 life, damaged fizz spell of 344. It is pretty easy. You just stand behind him, but the floor could catch you unawares. And the armor is 8,552, evasion 2,730. He is relatively easy, but you can die just because of that floor. Now the boss. The boss can be annoying if you do not have the DPS ability, or if you've got a ramping skill that you are hitting low hits, or you're not ramping enough, or etc, etc. Now, the Arakali is level 55. Resistances you need is chaos, because there's a lot of chaos on the floor, plus physical. So the other resistances you can swap out before going into this fight, just to fight this boss. Life of 72,306, armor of 10,090, evasion of 2,948, fizz spell damage of 385. As I said, chaos damage is the main reason why you will die, and just try to have as much of that as possible. If you can't, then you will beat it, because it purely is a survival thing. Can you survive chaos damage yet? And then we're on to Act 8. Act 8, we get right into it, facing a boss pretty straight away in Dodre the Vile. Dodre is way worse with the curses in this fight, because you only get one at a time, but depending on which one, you can be in trouble. Spin the wheel to switch to another one. If you get too many on you, it can virtually be as if you are trying to punch her with a bare fist. So we will try and have chaos for this fight as well, but fizz damage is a big thing. You need to start having the ability to take physical damage from this point on. And level 56, so you should be roughly around there. Life of 42,870, armor of 10,955, evasion of 3,063. As you can see, the armor is going up, so the physical damage reduction is going to start hurting you if you do not have enough fizz damage. And the evasion is not going to be an issue unless there's modifiers on the individual creatures which make it harder to hit, but the evasion can hurt you for a bow character as well. So that's the first of Act 8. You go around, do some other quest things. Act 7, Act 8 passive points we want to look out for the Master of a Million Faces quest, Queen of Despair, Kashala Star, Love is Dead, Reflection of Terror, and Gemling Legion for Act 8. Act 7, The Crypt and Chamber of Sins, and Act 6, The Prison. That is the second labyrinth, and the third labyrinth starts in the bathhouse. Then I'll run through Act 9 and 10 now. The tunnel will have another trial, and the ossuary will have the last one, and that is all the trials. I'll go back through them later. So we did Dodre, we'd go around doing other missions and everything. The first next real boss that we come up against is Dawn, where we get the Sun Orb. Again, not that difficult. This is pretty much defense building time, where just got our character building. Level 59, life of 55,504, armor of 13,996, evasion of 3,427. Skill spell damage of 330. No real issue fighting this character, just move around, dodge around, and don't get hit by the big beam that the sun god shoots at you, or the baby sun god or whatever. But there's no real issue that you should come into. Now, Yuggle can be a real pain in the backside, not even because of him. He is level 58, 55,301 life, 12,902 armor, and 3,302 evasion. Fizz spell of 560. As I said, this guy is not the issue. The little cold dot orbs that go around is the issue. The little cold dot orbs that go around can stack. I think they can stack up to like 10 times or something. And then you're taking this cold damage over and over and over again, and you will slowly but surely degen. Now, if you have some sort of cold conversion, then obviously it's different, but you more than likely will not be able to stand and cop it. So the issue comes when you get too many of them. Move around, keep moving, and just keep attacking. That's the best thing you can do with Yuggle. Now we head over to Dusk, which is the Moon Orb boss. Again, nothing scary about this one. Level 59, 55,504, armor of 13,996, evasion of 3,427, fizz spell of 330. Again, don't get hit by the big attack of the, pretty sure it's got a beam or a projectile, big attack or something. Like, usually you kill it real quick, so there's really no issue with the baby moon god. Just keep moving, keep doing damage, and you'll be fine, just as long as you can actually do the damage. The problem comes with the boss, or bosses, Solaris and Lunaris. Now, this is, to a degree, mechanics, and using your brain and your brain ability to think quickly and do a lot of moving quickly, which I have an issue with because my disability. Thinking quickly is a downside. Level 60 for the Sun God, 62,866 life, fizz of 15,178, evasion of 3,556, fizz spell of 497 damage. The Solaris damage, being the sun guy, you'll be able to tell the difference. When he does the big stand still and does like a little layout on the floor, you need to stand behind him. Then he does a big beam. Don't go running at him. He has turned around mid attack at me and killed me many times. The fact that his moon god friend attacks you as well is the big issue, but just keep moving, just keep thinking, and you should be fine. The moon god has the exact same life, I believe. 62,866, armor of 15,178, evasion of 3,556, fizz spell of 397. Now, people debate on which one you should take out first. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but a lot of people take out the moon god for the first fight, and then fight the sun god as the next phase. So it's up to you, but the moon god is the easier of the two, really. Her attacks are probably more dodgeable in my opinion, but it is a survivability check and somewhat a DPS check, but you can easily do the next act without having to worry about these two being destroyed quickly. Just make sure you're not dying like 50 times. So we end up in Act 9. This is where your character should be getting everything getting together. You should start feeling like, oh yeah, I can go do maps, no problem. The first one I'll talk about is Shikari, Queen of the Sands. She is a bit of a pain in the backside. Her level is 61, life of 86,724, armor of 16,457, evasion of 3,689, fizz spell of 471. Now, she's more of an annoyance than anything, but you can pretty much feel good or feel bad on fighting her. You will end up either being able to take her on and not really have an issue, or you'll have an issue. So that's where you start feeling whether your characters come together or not. The next one is General Addis. This guy, I've struggled against him on characters that have gone and done maps easily without much more improvement. So I don't say this guy's a huge thing, but this guy, if you beat him easily, is a feel-good moment. He is level 63, life 107, 424, so he's a bit tankier. Armor of 19,330, evasion of 3,967. Fizz spell damage of 406. Your lightning does have to be up against this guy. There is lightning on the floor and also his attack. Pretty much just stand where lightning is not and pretty much try to just keep distance. Distance is your friend in this fight, in my opinion. But 107,000 damage, considering he's got way more health than others. Don't feel bad if you get killed by the lightning traps and stuff, but he's not all that bad. The next guys, I say, there's a plural. We have to take on Chevron, Malagaro, and Dodre again. This time in the Rodning Core. This is the lead-up fight to the Depraved Trinity. Pretty much same as the last time you fought them in all the way back in Act 4, 3, before Malachi. Level of 64, so you should be roughly around there. The life for Chevron is 89,400. Just double checking. Yep, they all got the same life and armor. Their damage is slightly different though. So armor is 20,943, evasion of 4,112. The fizz spell damage for Chevron is 610. Again, lightning is a thing. She doesn't have a massive resistance to lightning this time. It's the same resistance of 40 Ellie and 25 Chaos. She is harder depending on your character. I always have trouble even with over 75% res. That's just my personal issue with the fight, obviously, because there's no reason you should have issues unless you just get hit by all her attacks. Malagaro has the same life, same armor and everything, but fizz spell of 427. He's a little harder because he's got the chaos, so it depends on whether you picked up some chaos yet. But I think he's the easiest of the three, and then Dodre, and then Chevron for me personally. Dodre has fizz spell of 610 damage, and the only real issue is the screech, hide behind the rock, and then just the general fact that you're being cursed. So if you have flasks to take curses off, they'll be helpful just to get some of the stacks off you. But the fight isn't really going to be that hard. All three of them will be virtually nothing compared to the Depraved Trinity. The Depraved Trinity is level 64, and the life is 228,864, armor of 20,943, evasion of 4,112. So if you're fizz based or your damage is based on your physical output, then you may have an issue with some of these bosses just because you need to do that much more damage compared to others. The fizz spell damage is 488. The only good thing is that his resistance elemental is 40 and resistance 25 chaos. So there's no actual worry in that aspect. There is scorpions, they shouldn't be a big issue. The real problem is that much life, that little arena, it all depends on your ability to survive, think, and act. Clear speed helps with the scorpions, obviously, but it pretty much is a massive DPS check and survivability check leading into Act 10. So if you struggle hard against the Depraved Trinity, you might have an issue for Act 10. The Act 9 quests we need to do are Queen of the Sands, Ruler of Highgate, and again the third trial is the Bathhouse, Act 8, the Tunnel, Act 9, and Ossuary, Act 10. So we beat the Depraved Trinity, and we're in the final act. Now, this act is pretty long because you got to do a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't actually have all that many people in it that you need to worry about. Avaris is back. Literally is called Reassembled. He is level 68, life of 63,690, armor of 28,790, evasion of 4,739, fizz spell damage of 822. Now this guy's pretty easy if your characters come together. Beating this guy is a bit of a feel good, but it's not really that challenging as far as if your character is got it going or not. If he is a struggle, then you do need to look at skills, gear, and also whether you need to actually level up some more. Now, the next one that can be an issue, just because of the type of fight, is Valentra. The level 66, 163,832 life, armor of 24,566, evasion of 4,416, fizz spell damage of 446. Now, this will be a DPS check, not necessarily a survival check, because the survival should be there. Need some fire res, but you should be pretty much 75% or more. 105% would be best. That way you're 75 after this act. But this is pretty much a DPS check. Can you take out someone with 163,832 life fairly easy? If you can't, then Katava is probably going to be a struggle. That brings us on to the Katava. Now, the big deal about Katava is just a smaller arena and lots of life. The damage is pretty much you can get one shot or you can degen. The burning floor, if you forget about that, that can be a killer. He's level 67, 326,077 life, 26,597 armor, 4,575 evasion, fizz spell damage of 710. So if you do not have DPS by this stage, you'll really struggle. If you don't have survivability, you probably won't make it to Katava, because the heralds and stuff in between Innocence and Katava, when Innocence opens the door and Katava, the damage they can cop is unreal. They can cop way more than Katava can sometimes, depending on the mods. But you need to be prepared for ability to take like 1,000 damage if you get crit and all that. So if you can survive 1,000 fizz or 1,000 fire damage or something, separate, not just one or the other, both, then you should be fine. If you you need to have burning floor or a lot of recovery and spam flask. If you don't, the ability for him to just wipe you out is quite high, and if you can take him out easy, you are completely overpowered for white maps, and you should get through white maps into yellow and all that fairly easy if your character destroys Katava, the final form. But that is the campaign. I'll go over the passive points you need. You need Vitara's Vengeance and beat Katava for 2 passive points. The trials I will go through again. Act 1, Lower Prison. Act 2, Crypt level 1. Act 2, the Chamber of Sins level 2. Act 3, the Crematorium. Act 3, the Catacombs. Act 3, the Imperial Gardens. Act 6, the Prison. Act 7, the Crypt. Act 7, Chamber of Sins level 2. Act 8, the Bath. Act 9, the Tunnel. Act 10, the Ossuary. So you should have all the things you need to do. Check /passives for the passives that you have missed after you beat Katava, and that will give you the amount of passives that you should have. 23 if you help the bandits, 24 if you killed them all. And hopefully this helps you get through the campaign a little easier and let you get prepared gear wise, skill wise, to actually do the damage required or the survivability required. And hopefully you get to have some fun while you're at it, and goodbye.